Welcome, everyone, to Mythical Mic Night, the only open mic event where gods, goddesses, and legends come to share their stories in verse.
Tonight, we'll hear about Demeter, the goddess of the harvest, and her daughter Persephone.
Persephone was taken by Hades, god of the underworld, and Demeter, grief brought great change to the land. You know what? That's enough out of me. Let's hear from the voices of those who lived it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Book Nook, the channel where we read and write together. I'm at a poetry reading, an event where poets or performers share poems aloud with an audience. You remember elements of poetry, don't you? Like stanzas, which are groups of lines that work together, almost like paragraphs in a story. Or rhythm and rhyme, the way a poem flows and sounds, creating patterns that make it pleasing to hear and easy to remember. And don't forget imagery, words that help you experience what's happening through your senses, like fields of green or the mountains high. These tools make poetry so powerful, especially when you hear it out loud. At tonight's poetry reading, each poet is sharing a piece inspired by the myth of Persephone. Oh, shh! The first poet is starting.
I watched her play in fields of green, my dearest child, my meadow queen. But shadow stole her from my sight and plunged the world to endless night. I searched the earth, the mountains high. I called her name to every sky.
Wow! How do you think Demeter might be feeling? She's lost her daughter, and the whole world feels cold and dark because of it. This poem really focuses on her feelings, her grief, and her love for Persephone. Of course, Demeter didn't actually write this poem. She's a mythical goddess of the harvest, not a poet. In poetry, the voice you hear, the one telling the story or sharing the emotions, is called the speaker. And the speaker isn't always the poet. Sometimes, like here, the poet imagines what it would be like to speak as if she was Demeter. Like stanzas and imagery, the speaker is an important element of poetry we need to consider. The speaker shapes how we understand the poem, what details they focus on, and how it makes us feel. So, hearing from Demeter as the speaker, what emotions did the poem stir in you? I felt really sad for her. And the poem helped me realize how much someone can mean to us and how hard it is to lose them. Oh, the next poet is coming up. Let's listen.
Persephone wandered, so curious and free, through meadows of blossoms as far as she could see. But Hades emerged from shadows below and took her to realms where no flowers grow. Demeter, her mother, searched day and night, calling her daughter with all of her might. The earth grew cold as grief filled the air. Plants withered, fields empty, trees stripped and bare.
Oh, wow, that was amazing. Okay, so this one feels really different, right? Let's pause for a moment. Think about the first poem from Demeter's perspective and compare it to this one. How are the speakers different? How do you think that changes the message and how the poem feels? Take a moment to pause and jot down what you're noticing. What did you notice? I noticed how the first poem feels so personal and emotional because Demeter is speaking about her own loss. This one, though, feels more balanced and calm. The speaker isn't focused on feelings, they're explaining the whole tale, almost like a narrator in a book. Having a narrator like this makes the poem less about grief and more about understanding the story as a whole, how everything fits together. And remember, the speaker's perspective shapes the message too. Demeter's poem is all about a mother's love and sorrow and what it means to lose someone important to you. The storyteller's poem takes a different angle. It shows us how when Persephone was home with Demeter, there were flowers and green meadows, bringing the warmth and life of springtime. But when she's in the underworld with Hades, the world becomes cold and bare like winter. What a beautiful way for the Greeks to explain something about the world around them, the changing of seasons. The perspective of the second poem's speaker helps us understand and connect with that message in a unique way. Okay, one more poet to go.
I wandered far through fields of green, in meadows bright, a peaceful scene. But shadows fell, and from below came Hades' call so strange, and lo, he took me to his silent land, a world so vast, both dark and grand. At first I missed the sun's warm light, the flowers' scent, the skies so bright. But soon I saw new beauty here, in quiet depths and rivers clear. Hades was kind, and by his side I found my place, a queen and bride.
Another wonderful poem. Okay, now it's your turn. Let's pause for a moment. Consider what we've learned about the story of Demeter and Persephone so far. Who is the speaker in this poem? How does their perspective change how you feel compared to Demeter's or the storyteller's perspectives? And what's the message here? Take some time to write down your thoughts. All right, what did you notice? I realized that the speaker for this poem is Persephone. She's recounting being taken by Hades to the underworld. This perspective feels so different from the others. At first, she talks about missing her old life, the sunlight, the flowers, and the sky. But then her feelings shift. She finds beauty in her new world and even happiness with Hades. Persephone's perspective gives us a different kind of feeling than the other two poems. It's a feeling called bittersweet, a combination of sad and happy. Persephone is a little sad, missing her old life, and a little happy, accepting where she is now. That feeling isn't in Demeter or the storyteller's poems. And thanks to Persephone's perspective, the message of this poem is different too. This poem is about finding balance and adapting to change. It's a reminder that even in difficult situations, there's often more than one way to see the story. Take a moment to think about this. If you could tell the story of Demeter and Persephone from the perspective of someone else, maybe Hades, his brother Zeus, or even a flower in the meadow, who would you choose? Now, how would that perspective change the message of the poem and how it makes us feel as readers? Pause here to write down your ideas. I love the idea of telling one story from multiple perspectives and using poetry to do so. Poetry is a great format for exploring emotions and perspectives because it uses tools like rhythm and imagery to express feelings in a powerful way. It lets us get inside the mind of the speaker and experience the story through their eyes. Amazing! As readers, we learned that when we pay attention to the speaker, we can see how their perspective shapes the way we feel and the message of a poem in a unique way. And from reading, or, well, listening, we learned all about the story of Demeter and Persephone. I wonder what other stories could change completely if they were told from someone else's point of view. Keep this in mind as you read some more poems, and as we continue our journey into traditional tales like myths, folk tales, and fables. Thanks for joining me at Mythical Mike Night here in the Book Nook. As always, keep reading, keep writing, and keep working on those goals. See you next time!
Hey, hey.